I need to warn you before I start. I am not someone who scares easily. I've camped my entire life, but what happened to me in those woods that weekend was real, and it still haunts me. If you ever go camping in a remote forest, remember this: the woods aren't empty. Something might be watching, and if it knows your name, you're already too late. We were four: me, my older brother Ethan, our friend Mark, and Mark's girlfriend Lily. We wanted a normal weekend. No phones, no city noise, no responsibilities, just a tent, a fire, and silence. We found a secluded campground deep in a national forest. The road narrowed until the trees almost met above us, blocking the sky. The air was heavy and still, almost alive, and the deeper we went, the more the forest seemed to breathe around us. The ranger station was nearly empty. An old man sat behind the counter. He barely looked up when we told him our campsite number. "You camping alone?" he asked slowly. "Yes," Ethan said. The ranger paused, then said, "Don't wander after dark, and if you hear your name, don't answer." We laughed nervously. He didn't. The drive to the campsite felt wrong. Branches clawed at the car, shadows twisted unnaturally. The air grew colder and thicker with every mile. Silence pressed on us, heavy and intelligent, as if the forest itself was observing. When we arrived, our campsite sat alone, near the tree line, too alone. Mark whispered, "Feels like we're not supposed to be here." We shrugged it off, set up the tent, gathered firewood, and started a small campfire, but the fire felt weak, as if the darkness itself was resisting it. Then I smelled it. Rotten, sweet, metallic. Lily said it was probably a dead animal, but it lingered, following us, watching. Night fell fast. The darkness wasn't just absence of light, it was alive, pressing against us, twisting the trees into shapes that shouldn't exist. Every snap of a twig sounded deliberate, every rustle sounded intelligent. Then the footsteps started, slow, careful, circling. Ethan shone his flashlight into the trees. Nothing. Then the voice came. It sounded like Mark. "Ethan." We froze. Mark was sitting beside us, pale, frozen. The voice came again, closer, calm, patient. "Ethan, come here." It sounded human, but it wasn't. The first 3 hours were unbearable. Footsteps circling, whispers in the trees, rustling branches like fingers dragging through leaves. Shadows detached from the trees and moved independently. Then Lily screamed. She swore she saw a figure standing just beyond the firelight. A man or something shaped like a man. It didn't move, didn't blink, just stared. Ethan ran toward it. The figure vanished. No footprints, nothing. The forest became alive. Time lost meaning. Hours stretched into days. Our watches stopped. Phones showed no signal. Food and water became secondary. Fear consumed us. The whispers grew louder. Names, taunts, cries for help. The forest began mimicking our voices. We heard each other calling for help, even when no one spoke. We hallucinated. Faces appeared in the bark of trees. Shadows moved independently. The smell of rot became overwhelming. By the third night, Lily vanished. We searched endlessly, screamed, ran. Nothing, no trace, only silence. The fire nearly died. Shadows stretched impossibly long. Something moved just outside the flashlight's reach, watching, waiting. The remaining nights were worse. The forest was sentient. It knew us. It twisted paths to trap us. Voices called our names, mimicking our friends, teasing, pleading. Mark disappeared next. Ethan and I tried to leave. The road twisted back to our campsite no matter where we went. The forest had trapped us. Hallucinations intensified. I saw myself lying under the trees, smiling at me. Whispered warnings echoed from shadows. Figures mimicked our movements just out of the corner of our eyes. I began hearing things inside my own head, my thoughts repeated aloud, distorted, urging me toward the darkness. By the fifth night, Ethan disappeared. I was alone. The forest's hunger was palpable. I could hear footsteps circling endlessly, whispers screaming my name, shadows twisting into grotesque shapes. The smell of rot filled my lungs. I staggered out at sunrise, alone, broken. Authorities said I wandered off, got lost. I know the truth. Sometimes, late at night, my phone rings. When I answer, I hear my own voice whispering, "Come back." Nights blurred into days. Every step I took in that forest felt like walking in a nightmare that bent time itself. The trees shifted subtly, twisting to block paths, opening passages we didn't notice before, hiding things just out of sight. I saw shadows moving between trees, shapes of people crouching, standing, watching. Sometimes I swore I could see the faces of people who had vanished years before. Whispers of names I didn't recognize. Some calling our names, others crying, pleading, laughing. The forest was alive, aware. Every rustle of leaves sounded deliberate. Every crack of a branch made me jump. Every faint movement in the corner of my vision felt purposeful. The forest tested us, taunted us, played with our minds. One night I saw a pair of glowing eyes in the distance, unmoving, unblinking, reflecting the light of our dying campfire. They followed me, always out of reach, never moving closer but never leaving. The darkness thickened around me, a weight pressing down, smothering, closing in from every direction. My own footsteps sounded wrong on the forest floor, echoing as if someone else was walking behind me. Voices became louder, closer, more precise. The mimicking intensified. I could hear Ethan calling my name from one direction, Lily from another, Mark from yet another, but when I turned, no one was there. I could feel something breathing in the darkness, large, slow, deliberate. Objects around me shifted subtly. Logs moved, rocks rolled, shadows lengthened unnaturally. I began to doubt everything I saw. Every sound became a threat, every movement a predator. I began to see them everywhere. Figures crouched just out of reach, partially hidden behind trees, blending with the forest, yet somehow unnervingly distinct. Sometimes I could see my own face staring back at me from bark, from leaves, from shadows that were not shadows. The forest consumed our sense of time. We slept only in fragmented bursts, terrified to close our eyes. Dreams merged with reality. I dreamed of figures dragging themselves through the trees, calling my name, whispering secrets about me, my life, my fears. I woke unsure if I had ever slept, unsure if it was still night or day. I could hear the whispers even when awake. By the seventh night, I was sure the forest knew everything about me, every thought, every fear, every memory. It could see me, manipulate me, play with me. My friends were gone. I was alone. The weight of isolation pressed down with every step. The forest seemed to close in, bending paths to keep me trapped, twisting the landscape so I could never retrace my route, mocking my attempts to escape. Shadows formed humanoid shapes. I could hear footsteps circling endlessly. Sometimes a voice would call from behind, "Come back. It's not over." I would spin, but no one was there. Only the forest. By the ninth night, exhaustion warped my senses. I could feel the forest breathe, smell decay thick in the air, taste the rot on my tongue. Every movement became a risk. The whispers told me secrets, some true, some lies, all designed to terrify. I saw figures crouching in the distance, staring, moving subtly, never leaving, watching me descend into madness. The campfire we tried to build never lasted. Flames flickered weakly, as if the darkness was snuffing them out. I walked for what felt like days, yet always returned to the same spot. The forest repeated itself endlessly, twisted in impossible geometry. By the 10th night, I had lost all sense of reality. The whispers became voices, shadows became creatures, the smell of rot consumed me entirely. My friends were gone, and I realized that I too might never leave. I stumbled out of the forest at sunrise, broken, alone. Authorities claimed I wandered off, got lost. I know the truth. Sometimes at night, my phone rings. When I answer, I hear my own voice whispering, "Come back." That forest never forgets. It waits, it knows, and it is patient. The memory of those nights is still alive in me. The shadows still follow me in every dark corner. Every wind through the trees echoes the whispers. I will never camp again. I will never sleep alone. I will never forget. The forest is hungry. I should never have gone on this trip. I can still feel the weight of the forest, the way the trees leaned in, watching, waiting. The lake never forgets. There were 5 of us, me, my sister Jenna, our friend Matt, his girlfriend Riley, and her younger brother Alex. We were all in our early 20s, seeking a weekend escape in the remote mountains of northern Maine. No phones, no distractions, just wilderness, tents, and a small campfire. We drove all day on winding forest roads. By the time we reached the campsite, the sun was already low, slipping behind jagged peaks. The lake lay ahead of us, a black mirror reflecting the fading light. Its surface was unnaturally still, perfectly smooth, not a ripple, not a single fish jumping. The ranger station was abandoned. A hand-lettered sign warned, "Use at your own risk, no cell service, leave no trace." That should have been our first warning. We set up our tents near the tree line. The air smelled damp and earthy. The forest was silent in a way that felt wrong. Too quiet. No birds, no insects, just the sound of our footsteps on pine needles. The first night, we stayed by the lake's edge, our small fire flickering. We shared stories, laughed nervously, trying to ignore the feeling that the forest was holding its breath. Around midnight, Alex, who had wandered toward the tree line to use the bathroom, screamed. His voice cracked, high-pitched, almost inhuman. We ran to him. He was staring at something in the darkness, something we couldn't see. His lips trembled as he whispered, "It's in the water." We assumed he was joking at first. Then Riley pointed to the lake. The reflection was wrong. The firelight bounced off the surface, but there was something beneath. Shadows too large, moving in ways water should not move. Ripples forming shapes, human shapes, shapes staring at us. We laughed it off nervously, trying to convince ourselves it was our imagination. But when Alex ran back to the tents, we noticed that the shoreline behind him was covered with footprints, wet, dark, human-shaped. But they didn't come from the dock or the trail. They seemed to appear from nowhere, leading toward the woods. Over the next hours, the forest made its presence known. Strange noises echoed from every direction. Branches snapped in patterns that didn't match our movements. Something whispered from the trees, low, unintelligible, but with a rhythm that sounded almost like our names. The following day we tried to leave, but the forest had shifted. Trails we remembered vanished, replaced by new paths that all led back to the campsite. The lake was always in view, but it seemed larger than the map suggested, stretching endlessly, black and silent. At night, the whispers grew louder. Figures appeared on the edge of the lake, motionless, half hidden in mist. Sometimes we saw them on the water's reflection, tall, thin, featureless faces, staring from below, mirrored perfectly by the lake. But when we turned to look, they were gone. By the second night, panic set in. Matt insisted we pack up, but the tents we had pitched seemed wrong. Their positions subtly shifted, poles bent as if something had touched them. We argued. Jenna said we were losing our minds. Alex refused to sleep, staring at the water the entire night, whispering that it wanted him to join it. In the early hours, Riley disappeared. Her sleeping bag was empty. The zipper closed. No struggle, no sound, just gone. The only clue was a trail of wet footprints leading into the lake, fading into blackness as if swallowed by the water itself. Over the following days, we became increasingly paranoid. Every rustle, every reflection on the lake, every whisper was amplified. We saw figures among the trees, always just at the periphery of vision. Our shadows sometimes moved independently, stretching and twisting, making impossible gestures. The lake remained perfectly still, yet it seemed to pulse in rhythm with our fear. We tried to leave again. The forest resisted. Trails twisted and doubled back. Mist rose from the lake, thick and suffocating, blurring the boundaries between water, land, and air. Sounds of splashing, footsteps in the water, echoed all around us, though the lake was still. At night, the whispers called our names, sometimes in voices of our friends, sometimes in ours, distorted and distorted further, almost singing. Days blurred. We rationed food, drank sparingly, but the forest and the lake seemed to watch, to test us, to erode our sanity. Shadows stretched impossibly, figures appeared in reflections in puddles, in our own eyes. Alex began talking to someone invisible, laughing at invisible jokes, smiling at reflections that didn't exist. One night, we were woken by screams, human, animal, something else entirely. We ran to the lake, but the shore was empty. Only the reflection moved, twisted, formed shapes we could not comprehend. Jenna tried to touch the water. Her hand disappeared up to the wrist, as if the lake had pulled her in. We yanked her back, but she screamed that she could feel something below, clawing, pulling. By the end of the week, only I and Jenna remained. We had tried everything, packing, leaving, following the trail, but the forest and lake manipulated the terrain. Mist, darkness, whispers, reflections, all became traps. Eventually, Jenna vanished while I slept, or perhaps while I was awake, I cannot tell. The last thing I remember was waking to see her kneeling by the lake, staring into it, murmuring, "It's calling me. It knows me." I tried to grab her, but she slipped into the water as if the lake had opened its mouth. The ripples vanished instantly. I escaped somehow, or the lake let me leave. I don't know. The forest, the lake, the mist, they all watch, they remember. Sometimes at night I swear I can hear, whispering, distant footsteps, and ripples in water I cannot see. Sometimes my own voice calls to me, echoing from a lake I do not know. I will never camp again. I will never sleep near water in the forest. The lake waits, and it never forgets.